Wake up! I'm Doug, and this is the Taste and Sensibility channel. And today on Coffee Review number 28, we're looking at something very special from Hawaii. We're looking at Kona and Mokka. So I've got a pot of Kona here, and I'm going to pour it so it can be cooling off while we look at where this comes from. On all the maps that I always bring. So this is a more specialized, more expensive coffee that's often counterfeited because of the price that it gets. But we will look at the map in Coffee Obsession, this wonderful book by Annette Mulvare. And here's the Hawaii page. If everything fits on the table. So they show every island, all green, like you can grow coffee anywhere in Hawaii. And they talk about, let's see, what they say about Kona. Areas of Kona. Oh, I'm not even going to try all these names. North Hilo, Hamakawa, down the sides of Mauna Loa volcano, and all the coffee trees there thrive in the rich black soil. Most of the coffees from the island are fully washed. And they describe some of the rules for Kona coffee that I'll get into in a bit. But it was easier to find the exact location of this particular coffee grower on Google Maps. So here's the big island of Hawaii on this map. And the coffee producer has an office here. This whole side of Mauna Loa is where the Kona coffee has to come from. And I found a map from the Kona Coffee Council showing this little area of the island is where Kona may be grown. And if it's labeled Kona, Hawaii law says it has to be 100% Kona. If it's elsewhere in the US, there's no such law. Here's the 100% Kona bag. And this place is a pretty reliable coffee company that buys it directly from the estate, Ariana Farms. So there's a very good description of the farm in the Burman literature, and Ariana Farms has their own web identity, so it's pretty easy to look them up. So they're a real thing. Here's the unroasted beans. Here's my roast, which I did fairly dark. I just touched second crack, and I see some of the beans are oily. They're all shiny, and most of them have a little smear of oil sticking out of them. So that's that. And before we get into the tasting, just want to tell you to like the video down below, give it that thumbs up, and leave a comment or a question, and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell to get notified when the new videos come out on Mondays. And we only have a few videos left in the coffee series. It's going to be another couple on coffees, and then some on coffee and spirits, coffee and cuisine. So I've tasted this particular roast of mine once, and it was really good. Very different. It stood out from lots of the other things I've been doing, so I'm excited to get to this. And I will do the Mokka in a totally different segment where I don't have to prepare two coffees all at the same time and get everything ready for two different tastings. But this one is pretty special. This is on the order of $35 a pound. I only bought 1 pound, and I roasted half of it, and I hit my target pretty well, and the taste tells you that I hit it. So I'm going to wait for that to cool off a little bit more, but it sure smells deep and rich. Yep, I can tell that's a different level of aroma and taste in there. So I don't really have any details about the elevation of this farm, or I know it's all a washed process, and that's about it. Mauna Loa is about 13,000 feet or so at the top, but they don't grow stuff up there. It's a volcano. It's all rocks and lava and solidified lava down on the sides. So it might grow up to 1,000 meters, 1,200 meters. But I think a lot of the area is pretty low. This is really dark, rich, very inviting. Something very attractive about it. So let's go ahead and taste. I think I will get something out of it. Wow. Wow. Very well defined, very well structured. Strikes you right away as a deep, rich, different kind of coffee. There's an earthiness, but it's very clean. Lots of bass notes, earthy and cocoa. It's kind of a fruitiness to it too. There's a sweetness. Hints of berries. Plum. Maybe cherries. They're all light and fluttering around the top, but most of it's down in the deep part. Caramely sweetness or a nutty sweetness, like maybe a pecan or some sweeter kind of nut. I wouldn't say macadamia nut, but something sweet. And I can't really associate it with the mid palate or the deep dark notes. And there's a sweetness. Wow, that went fast. Just super well constructed. Wow. So there's not any kind of floral note. I'm not getting a lot of herbal or sticks and twigs and grass. Not a lot of green in it. There's kind of, today I'm picking up a little bit of ashiness on the finish, which is real interesting because it's not bitter. It's not too dark. It's not a burnt taste. But it's a little ashy at the end. That's really odd. And it's not a bad note. It's just something went really dark. And I think you could probably go darker on this roast and not hurt the coffee. They give notes for doing a medium roast, and they give directions to kind of go to second crack or just touching second crack. And you get a lot out of it. And I would agree, that's a great place to roast it to. But I don't know the notes. I just know it's very clean, compact, well constructed, structured, tasty, dark, rich. And names and words for most of the notes really escape me. Some earthiness, some cocoa. There's dark chocolate, but it's not bitter. There's a sweetness, but it's hard to say what it's due to. Is it connected with the fruit? Is it more of a caramel or a brown sugar or burnt sugar? I don't know. What is the sweetness from? It's a little bit of a chameleon on my palate. Sometimes I get nuttiness and sometimes I don't. Sometimes the sweetness is a caramely note and sometimes it's not. We'll go back to the nose. Wow, it's just dark, deep, rich. I don't know what to call the nosy notes either. Coffee-like and wow. It is, but spectacular. I don't think I'm being influenced by the price I paid or the reputation of it being special. I bought it before from another seller, and I probably didn't roast it well, and it was unspectacular. This thing, I followed the instructions that I found on most of the websites concerning this coffee, and I'm pretty sure that it's authentic 100% Kona, and this deserves the reputation. I finally did it right this time, and it tastes like it. So that's good. I'm going to pour a little more and do the cream thing. And I'm not sure what to expect. Most coffees get very friendly. It end up being some variety of chocolate milk or a buttery chocolate milk or a butterscotch, caramely chocolate milk. Oh wow, that's a lot of cream. I just poured in some half and half, which is my favorite thing to put in. And adding cream and milk to the coffee is not something I usually do in daily life, but I do it here. So it's to the buttery side, because there's so much butter fat in here. Wow, it did not go cocoa. It did not go chocolate. It's like lighter versions of all the dark coffee notes. Lighter versions of dark coffee and butter. Wow. Love it, like it. As soon as I turn off the camera, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of this pot. And then I'll be back with Mokka. It's just another variety from another island. And I think I'm going to enjoy that too. So, yeah, there's a hint. There's just a whiff of chocolate milk aroma. It's a light milk chocolate, but wow, no. It's more dark coffee notes and butter. So that worked. It was very desserty. So, I'm going to clean up here a little bit, enjoy the rest of this coffee, and be back with Mokka. And our second Hawaiian coffee today is from a different island. It's called Mokka, and it's grown on Maui. So this is also from Berman, and the beans are very different. They're very small, and we'll get into all the details after I pour. So this has a totally different smell and taste. So let me get these off to the side. And here's the first map where the big island of Hawaii has this Kona region on this little crescent of the western side, but Maui is up here. So let's get a map showing Maui a little bit bigger. And the coffee company, Maui Grown, is over on this side. So there's a large mountain here. I don't see the name of it here, and I didn't research it, memorize it. But it's on the slip of this mountain somewhere. And This is from a type of coffee that was recently developed, maybe just since the year 2000. So it was developed from Yemeni seed stock. And what I've been smelling and tasting is not anything like any of the Central or South Americans, or any of the Indonesians or Africans. So it doesn't smell quite as dark. And the aromas are a little different, a little more herbal or vegetal, or not really floral, but they're not things I'm familiar with. So the beans here are much smaller and kind of makes it a little harder to roast. So they turn shiny a little earlier. Small beans have a tendency to go from dark to too dark very quickly at the end. So I wanted to just hit second crack, but not to go over. And I may have stopped it a few seconds early, but I'm getting a pretty good flavor out of this batch. So Berman gets their Kona from one grower that's on the Big Island, and they get the Mokka from a different grower. And that company is called Maui Grown. And they have a good web presence. I'll put a link down below. But this is a totally different animal than the Kona. I got it almost as dark, and the aroma is not nearly as dark. It's a whole different set of flavors and aromas. I'm thinking I can pick up a little acidity on the nose. And when you taste it, let's see if it's too hot. That's pretty hot. There is a little acidity that I've noticed before. There's not a deep, dark, rich cocoa note or earthy note, but there's more stuff in the mid palate. But what it is hard to identify. I haven't picked this up in any other coffees. Central or South American? Nope. African and Asian? Nope. This is different. And it's frustrating when you don't have vocabulary for it. It's something that could be fruitiness. It's not very sweet. But it doesn't really remind me of any food or drink. So the acidity is not strong. It's just there. It's just present. It's just detectable. And it doesn't make it especially bright or citrusy. It might be more of a savory note. Like a roast turkey or a roast ham. There is something that could be a fruit, but what kind? I couldn't tell you. White grape, kiwi, strange melon, like a honeydew. It's a very light, airy kind of fruit. Tiny bit of tartness, but not really much. So this is baffling, but it's tasty and different, and I'm liking it. So these beans aren't really shiny. They're kind of a satiny finish. They got pretty dark, and they're fairly uniform in size. They're very small. This is called a 16 screen. Berman offers several sizes. And the unroasted beans are very small, and they don't get a lot bigger. They expand a little bit, but they're very small. Ground it to the same point I grind all these single origin coffees in these reviews, and made the 16:1 ratio in my automatic drip brewer. And the coffees turn out fairly different. So these two Hawaiians are real interesting. And this was not as expensive as the Kona. This is more like maybe $25 a pound. I'll correct it if that's the wrong price. But don't have that many words to describe this. This is odd, interesting, good, and just a different kind of coffee flavor. Maybe the thing I was calling savory might just be baking spices and an odd combination or an odd member of the group that makes it go in a little different direction than I'm used to. They're not strong, they're not hot, they're not spicy. It's not like cinnamon. It's more like very muted allspice or very muted clove. Yeah, that's probably a better description than the ham and turkey I was coming up with before. And the acidity is sort of diffusing away as it cools off, and I can taste more and more of it. It's certainly not what you would call bright or citrusy, but interesting and good, and I like it, and I will enjoy the rest of this expensive bag. So if you like the reviews you've been seeing here, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment or a question down below. Subscribe to the channel and click that bell to get notified when the new reviews come out. And we haven't got that many more coffee reviews left. Coming around to the Caribbean for the last couple of single origin coffees. So it's a little odd running into so many flavors that are hard to describe. So it's going to be really odd with cream in it, I think. Which I haven't done, but here we go. Yeah, that's a good pour of cream. Half and half, really. Oh, I can smell the butter. I can smell butter fat, creaminess. Whoa, it's a much lighter chocolate. There's a watery caramely note and a watery chocolate note. So it's a little more desserty, but it's not as good as a lot of coffees do with cream. So I would even put the cream in, even though I enjoy it once in a while. So that's why we do the experiments. So I have links down below to Burman Coffee, and to the Kona, and to the Maui grown Mokka. And that'll wrap up this double coffee edition. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.